Welcome to TruPowur, home of the most powerful marketing tools, training, and technology on planet Earth. Get ready to earn, enjoy, and experience more than you ever dreamed was possible. If you're tired of just getting by and ready to really thrive, then buckle in and listen up. Here's your host, Matt Fox.
Well, hello and welcome to TruPowur Academy. And this is episode 279. And, from time to time, you may have a customer that has multiple locations. And although this will add some extra data entry, the process is pretty straightforward. So today, we are going to look at 4 areas of interest that will help you, guide you through that process. Number 1 is reading the commercial bill for information that is needed. Number 2 is entering the commercial bill for pricing. And then 3, entering a multi-location commercial customer. And then ultimately at the end, creating a commercial proposal. So if you do have any questions along the way, just for the sake of time, type them into the chat and I will address them at the end of our training. So without any further ado, let me share my screen and let's jump right into it. From the quick launch menu, very simply, to go to the back of the pricing platform is to click on link number 4, the commercial pricing platform. But before we do that, there's a couple things that we need to take a look at. And the one is the utility bill itself. So I have already brought a bill up. And so a lot of times people have a hard time really kind of understanding and deciphering what's on the bill. There's some key points, the things that we're going to need to collect. Obviously, the customer's name, email, phone number, address. We're going to need their usage, their annual usage, along with what are they currently paying. Sometimes you may have a customer that's got tiered billing, which makes that very difficult. Sometimes you'll see that, like on this bill, they have all of the monthly KWH typed out. Sometimes you'll just see it like a graph. And so like this. So that doesn't help a lot, right? So it's really nice when they do actually put that in there for you where you can add it up. So we have multiple bills in this training, and I've taken the liberty to go ahead and add all of these up across all 7 bills so that will save us a lot of time. But in essence, if you do have the breakdown, really all you need to do is add up 1 year's worth of usage to come up with that final annual KWH usage. Now, from time to time, you may not have that. And so the best recourse that you have is to take their current usage and multiply that times 12. That's going to get you pretty close. So I would depend on the time of year. Obviously, electric usage is much higher during summer months than they are in winter months. So if I were taking that number during the winter, I would probably round it up. If I were doing that in the summer, I would probably round it down. So making things a little bit easier for you to be able to calculate that. Now, you can see on this bill that the supplier has listed the total KWH for the month and how much they're paying. Now, that's typically what the customer thinks that they're paying. But if you were getting gas at the pump, and you were saying, okay, I'm paying 14 cents a gallon, I put 1,605 gallons of gas in the car, it should only be $237, but actually the bill is $406. So we need to compare apples, oranges to oranges. So when we are in the process of looking at their usage, we need to make sure that we are comparing it to a fixed all-in, which is going to include all of the charges. So the simplest way to do that is to take your calculator and take the usage or the amount that they're paying. So in this case, we're taking $406, 406, and dividing that by the kWh, which is 1605. And that tells us that we're paying an average of about 25 cents per kWh. So that's probably going to be a lot different than what the customer is thinking off at the top of their head. So just be mindful of that so that when you're looking at those bills, make sure that you are including all-in fixed price if you're going to be able to compare apples, oranges to oranges. So making sure that we have all of the annual usage. If not, take the monthly usage times 12 and then calculate how much they're actually paying for that. So we're going to go ahead and jump into the pricing platform. So when you get into the pricing platform, there's really two options at this point. One is to do an instant quote, which you can do and get a good idea as to what that customer would be paying. In this case, we want to put a proposal together, and the only way to do that is to actually put the customer's information into the bill. So I have already pulled all of this customer's information, so this will help speed things up here a little bit. So we're going to add a new customer. Simply start by putting in their zip code, and then we are going to want their usage. And click continue. Now it's going to ask you, just remind you that it is EverSource is the utility, not the supplier, the utility. And so we're going to hit go ahead. Is this a current customer? In other words, is it a current customer in the TruPowur platform? No. So now we can move forward with entering the customer's information. So we're going to go ahead and drop that information in here. And their address. So the address for this particular account is right here. We're going to put that in there. And then I happen to know that based on the bill, the billing location is different than the physical service address. So you see right here, it says service address, but actually when they get their bill, it is going to a different address. I think it's up here. Yep. So be mindful of that. So if the billing address is different, then we want to make sure that we keep everything good to go. So we're going to go ahead and put that in there. And really, once you've put this information in the first time, it should make the whole process a whole lot easier. And you'll see that here in just a moment. So we're going to go ahead and add that in there. And so here we go. Well, let's put their phone number in. Email. And then I just typically will click on all of these to make it available. And then we are going to hit next. This is taking a look at the customer's information, comparing it against what the utility is telling us. So we're going to go ahead and use that one. We're going to use the suggested. It is going to update everything. And now we need to put in the account number. So you can see that there is a sample bill for you to be able to look at. We already have that information available. So we're going to go ahead and pull that and drop that in here. And you get the green check mark, so we know we're good. And then we're going to need to upload a copy of that bill. So 5.2. So there we go. So now we've uploaded the bill. So we've got multiple locations. So in order to add the next location, all we really need to do is hit add another location. And then from here, we can take and copy all of the information from the first account to the second account. So that will help speed things up here a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and put the updated information into the next slot. So that's going to make things move a lot smoother. Put in the account number, and then we want the usage. For that one, and then that is bill 3.1. So we're going to go ahead and put in 3.1. And add another location. We're going to go ahead and pull that information because it's going to also, remember, it's going to have all of the billing information behind it and everything else. So we want to make sure that we're keeping everything like it should be. So we are going to go ahead and copy this over. The hard part really is just getting all of that information onto one sheet to make it easier to cut and paste. And so if you're not used to doing that, I'm hitting Control C and then hitting Control V to paste it in there. Same thing with the account number, Control V, the usage, Control C, Control V, and then that is store 14. So we're going to go ahead and add that in there. And that should do it. Now, when we do our review, it's going to want us to make sure that we have everything the way the utility has it. So we're going to say yes, 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 all the way down. So now the system has updated everything. It is going to give you a chance to do some final review to kind of look at everything, make sure that you've got all of the accounts and usage in there like you should, and then hit submit. Once you do that, that is going to bring it up to the information page where you can observe everything in the account. You can see that it has totaled up the usage, which is now 127,890. Let's see if I had that right. 127,890. Perfect. So it has added all of that up. And so now All of that information is in the system. So now, obviously, given a few moments of time, you can see right here where it says account usage data. Well, given usually depending on the area of the country, you will usually see this turn into blue like a link where you can click on that, where the system is actually analyzing and looking at the utility and making sure that all of the numbers are correct. Once that goes blue, then you will actually be able to click on that and it will give you live up to the minute usage. So it will update all of these numbers. And it typically, depending on the area of the country, it can take a few minutes to a couple hours. In some areas, it could even take a couple of days. But it will analyze and audit those numbers against the utility and supplier to make sure that those are accurate. And it will update actual usage and then update all of that information into the system to make sure that we have accurate data. So now that we have loaded that into the system, let's go back to the dashboard so you can see what that looks like. So now you can see that it has been added into the system. So we have the customer. We've got right now, we're going to be in a request for a quote right now. But I just wanted you to be able to see that this information is really internal. So when we look at a contract number, that is not the contract between the supplier and the customer. That is the contract. That's the internal TruPowur contract number that we have so that it makes it easier to locate that customer. So has nothing to do with their electric contract. It's just an internal contract number. So once we've clicked that, it's going to open everything up. And then we have the ability to generate an LOA and an LOE. We can look at today's rates. We can request price, which is the reverse auction. And then if we were going to add natural gas at a later point in time, we wouldn't have to go through all of this process again. We would just simply add new service because most of the data is already in the system, so you won't need to do that twice. These are all of the bills that are in the same utility, which is grouped together. So if you have a customer that has multiple accounts, that and let's say 7 of them are in one utility and 5 of them are in another utility, then you're going to need to put all of the same utilities together by group. So you wouldn't cluster all of those into one locale or one order. So from here, let's take a look at today's rates. The average rate for this particular customer for that much kWh is they're averaging about 27 cents per kWh. I'm going to leave this at 5 mils just for the moment. And so let's come down and take a look at a couple things. So what does the market say? Well, the market says that based on the historical data and everything that we have, now is really a perfect time to price that. When it's in the green, that's spot on. But typically, if you're about 1/3 of the way down and lower, you're going to be in a really good position to price that customer. Below that, you have a couple of other options that are available. One is a rate calendar, where if you're wanting to move forward ahead in months, as well in the terms and the effective date, you can take a look at different months to be able to analyze to see what forward months might be more beneficial for that customer. You can email a link to the customer, which is really going to send them, however you have this looking, is going to send to them. They're not going to see the commission, but they are going to actually get a link that is going to be live. So as the rates change on a daily basis, those numbers, every time they click that link, they could click that link tomorrow. And if the price was higher, everything is going to go up. So that is actually a live link when you send that to the customer. That's why when you send that, it's asking you for your mills because it's got to take that into consideration. So if you use that, you're basically setting yourself up so that that customer is going to be able to see all of the pricing and savings. They're not going to see any commissions. They're going to see everything from this area to the left. And it will be a live link so they can click on that every day till the cows come home. And they're going to see the market, how it stands at that moment. So when would you use that and why would you use that? Well, when I use it, if I'm talking to a customer that has gone on vacation and I know that they're not going to return for a week, but I want them engaged. And if you have a business owner, even if they're on vacation, they're checking their email. So if they're looking at that and they're pulling it up and they see that they could be saving $82,000, I think they're probably going to be prone to want to move forward. Now, there's a lot of available opportunities here. So in this filter, if we select all, that gives the customer 63 total plans to choose from. If I don't want that customer to see all of that and I want to keep it pretty well to the highest number. So let's take a look at 60, 54, 48. Let's start just with that. So let's see how many different plans we have. So we've got some significant numbers here. So that would probably be all I would want to afford the customer. So if I have this set up like this, and now if I send that link, when they open it, they're only going to see the top deals. They're not going to see the smaller term size contracts. So that's important to be able to remember that if you use this link. The other one is to email the plan. So if you select this, you can put a note in there and send it to them. It will actually take a snapshot of today's rates so that this is really designed to give them a call to action like, hey, get back with me. I can only hold these rates until 5 o'clock today type of thing. And so that's when you would use this. Getting a custom quote is the reverse auction. So if we were going to do that with this customer, we would set that up. And then generate a proposal, which is what we're going to do next. So let's take a look at this and see what we're looking at. So you'll notice that the system always puts the top 3 best deals at the top. Just scroll past that and that will give you what you're looking at. And it should be with the longest term contracts available. So I typically like to have at least 3 deals or 3 suppliers on a proposal, because when you just give them one, then it's really kind of a yes, no answer versus would you rather have $82,000 in savings, $80,000 in savings, or $75,000 in savings. And so when you do that, it gives them choices rather than just a yes, no answer. So to create a proposal is pretty straightforward. We're going to go in here and select a fixed all in, which is what we were talking about earlier. We're going to unselect some of these because we just want to look at the longer term stuff. And hit next. And hit next. And here is actually where you have the capability of adjusting the margins on multiple deals. So if you were otherwise, right now we have the margin set to 5 mils. It's going to set that at 5 mils for everything that is on this particular proposal. But if I wanted to set that different, I could actually change that so that I said, okay, on this one, maybe I want it to be 10 mils. And this one, I want it to be, let's say, 7.5 mils. And we'll leave that one at 5 mils, just so you can kind of get an idea of what that might look like. So you do have the ability to set the margins differently for each supplier. Typically, I'm going to leave that all the same unless there's, for some reason, a huge difference between one supplier and the other. And maybe I have the ability, or I can afford to raise the margin on one supplier than the other. Or let's say, since we know that the longer term contract is actually going to be more beneficial, maybe I don't want that customer to pick these. So I will set those margins higher so that it really kind of focuses the attention where I want that attention to be taken. So we're going to go ahead and hit next. And right now, the system is actually taking all of the usage and dividing it by 12. That's why we see 100 or 10,658 kWh per month. Once the system starts to update, all of these months will change and will be accurate according to whatever it really currently is. So we're going to go ahead and hit next. And we're going to go ahead and then click download. And so here is our quote. And so you can see that you have your cover page. You've got the best quote for March. And then you've got a breakdown of the comparison for the fixed all in so that you can see. I'll blow this up to make this a little easier. So you can see that based on that information, you've got NG at 14.36, you've got direct energy at 13.5. However, the amount of savings is significant. So you've got a lot more savings available here with NG than you do direct energy. So in dollars and cents, but in percentage, the savings is much higher on direct energy. Now, if I wanted that customer to really go with NG because I know it's going to be a much longer term contract, hence the commission over 5 years is going to be obviously a lot more than 4 years, then maybe I would change the margins on those direct energy deals so that this number would actually drop a little bit and really kind of push that customer towards the idea that I want to take that customer. But this is really just to give you a good understanding as to how to put that information in there and what you are looking at. So right now, we're looking at direct energy is going to be able to provide a 50% annual savings. That's very significant. 47% savings with NG on a longer term contract, saving anywhere from $70,000 to $80,000 between those two. I think that is pretty significant across the board. To include some market data, you can opt as to whether you want to include that or not when you're downloading that. So right up here, you can select whether you want that or not. If we go back, you can include the market data graphs. You can include future market data. You can also include 1 year up to 5 years worth of data. So just depending on what things you're trying to push that customer towards, and being able to see that this is beneficial for them. So it's important that you make sure that you have at least some choices for that customer. That's why I never use a proposal with one supplier. I typically like to have at least 2 or 3 different suppliers that I'm going to be able to include in there. The more suppliers, the better. I wouldn't go crazy and have 10 in there, but you certainly could, especially if they're all very long-term type contracts. So that makes that process much easier. So once you download this, you can see that I'm going to want to save this, and you can see that it says the company name, electric proposal. I do not want that to say proposal. So when I save it, I'm just going to save it as the company name. So that way, when I go into my CRM and I email that to the customer, I want to make sure that it doesn't say proposal. I just want it to have their company name so that when they see that PDF with their company name on it, they're going to open it. So when they open it, they're going to see these numbers, and ultimately you're going to leave a message or talk to them to say, the utility audits are already underway. In fact, during the initial investigation, we also uncovered some additional savings in your electric account. I emailed you some information, i.e. this proposal. When you get a chance, take a look at that. Give me a call. I'll go over the details. So this process is completely broken down right here under the commercial sales cycle. So if you go under tips, under the commercial sales cycle, you will see where it kind of walks you through this same process that we just went through here today. So it's not really difficult. The biggest issue is gathering all of that information, either on a notepad. If you only have a couple of them, for the purposes of being able to lay that out, I did it on a spreadsheet just to make it a little easier and a little quicker for us today. And then once this starts to update, you will see that this will be live, and that could be, a couple hours to a couple days. So we want to make sure that we're giving the customer the most accurate information possible. So let's take a quick break here and answer any questions about the proposal that you may have. Well, thank you for being on the call today. And like always, you don't have to go home, but you can stay here. So have fun storming the castle. Bye now.